everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bucket of Chum, the Shark Movie Podcast. As always, I am your host, Captain Steve, and we are continuing Mega May with Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus from 2009, directed by Jack Perez. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode last week. That was the first guest episode, and that kicked off Mega Mayhem. This month is just crazy. It's just fucking crazy because it's just mega and it's big. And so there's like 5 weeks this month, and there's only 4 mega movies, and I was just like, oh, we'll do a guest episode because that's crazy. We're gonna talk about Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. This was one of the first absolutely wild shark movies that I ever saw. So I definitely saw this probably around 2009, 2010 when it actually came out, because I do remember talking about it when I was in film school with somebody. The first day I actually talked about this movie, come to think of it. My first day of film school, holy shit. Which was over 10 years ago now. Fuck me. Anyways, and I always said that if I just ended up making crazy shit like this as my movie career, I would have been a happy fucking camper. I was a fan of this movie back in the day. I don't think I've seen this since 2009 or 2010, so this is a pretty fresh watch because I really didn't remember much about it. I didn't remember a lot about it, actually. I remembered like 2 or 3 little scenes that I found funny at the time, and that was about it. They have also done all kinds of shitty movies. Okay, I shouldn't say shitty. They're not all shitty. B-grade sort of movies. You know the shit we talk about on here, right? But yeah, they do some wild and crazy shit, and I actually remember back in the day, I looked at their website, and they had a spot where you could just submit a script about something, and they might buy it from you. I don't think they do that anymore. There's probably a lot of legal reasons, and it's just too much hassle, I would imagine. But I always considered fucking submitting something, and I never did. God damn it. I mean, looking at all the shit that they've done, I could have written something of that caliber, maybe even a little bit better back in the day, because I haven't written anything in a long time, so I don't really know where my writing skills are or were. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So let's get into the Letterboxd plot synopsis. The tagline: winner eats all. Ooh, whoop-de-fucking-do. The plot synopsis: the California coast is terrorized by 2 enormous prehistoric sea creatures as they battle each other for supremacy of the sea. Pretty simple plot description. It has an average rating of 1.7 stars on Letterboxd, which for the Asylum, that can mean a million things, right? Their movies are so hit or miss. When I see a score high or low with them, it just depends on what sort of audience this resonated with in the B-movie community, I suppose. But because I saw this a long time ago, I might be a little bit more biased towards it. Maybe I'll give it a higher score. But we don't know yet because it's been a long time since I've seen it. Poster expectations. This poster is not that crazy. The Asylum posters I've seen before, there's all kinds of shit going on in those posters. Generally, you do see whatever is happening on the poster in the movie. As we've talked about before, when we see a Polonia Brothers movie poster, they'll have, fighter jets and, speedboats, and, you'll see none of that shit in the movie. When the Asylum does it, and they show you, Navy ships or, jet fighter ships, you'll see that shit. It might be terrible CGI, but you're going to see it. This one is just the 2 creatures, the shark and the octopus, underwater in the middle of a fight, and then, we can kind of see, they're near San Francisco, so I think we can see, the Golden Gate Bridge or something. And that's it. There's nothing really that crazy. So, honestly, if we just get a shark and octopus fighting, maybe more than we saw in The Meg 2, for fuck's sakes. Anyways, and as I mentioned, this is the first one in a series of 4, I believe, and I have never seen any of the sequels. This is the only one that I have seen. So, all for the rest of the month, it's all going to be, fresh watches for me. So, we'll see how that goes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I need to take care of this mega hard-on, so let's dive in. We start off with some shots of, Rocky Mountains sort of thing, and I guess they're supposed to be, around icebergs or something. They seem to imply that they're near, the North Pole, or at least somewhere high up north. I don't know if it's ever specifically specified. If it is, I don't... Oh, wait, no, it's literally Alaskan coast. My God. I'm all over the place today. Because it's Mega Mayhem! Anyways, yeah, so, okay, we're on the Alaskan coast, looking at fucking icebergs and shit, and there's a helicopter flying overhead, and they're doing some sort of sonar testing. I think they called it low-frequency sonar testing. We see an iceberg start falling apart, and then we go to a submarine underwater, and it's being driven by... the character's name is Emma, but her name is Debbie Gibson, who apparently was a singer back in the day, like the 80s or 90s, I guess, and she was also sang for Electric Youth. Not anything I'm super familiar with. I've definitely heard the names before. Like, I've heard Debbie Gibson. I've heard Electric Youth. I listened to one of her songs and one of Electric Youth's songs just out of curiosity, and I was like, well, we're just going to leave that where it is, shall we? And then in the back of this, we got this guy, Vince, and he's manning the sonar or whatever. And then the helicopter up above drops a device, this low-frequency sonar or whatever. And then as the sub's driving, Emma sees this device and she's like, oh, this is illegal. They're not supposed to have these sort of things. And at first I thought these two were working together, like the helicopter and the sub, because the helicopter radio's in like, okay, you should be getting a signal soon. And then we see the submarine, but then immediately it's like, oh no, they're not connected. I don't know, it's very confusing. So I don't know who this helicopter worked for. Maybe they did work for the same company and I don't know. Frankly, it doesn't fucking matter. Because, spoiler alert, he's about to fucking die. The helicopter crashes because he flew so close to the iceberg as it's falling apart. I don't understand why he needed to be that low. Like, that's super low to be flying. And too close, like, just don't fly right next to the iceberg. Just move over. Like, there's a whole ocean that you could go. And you're just like, nah, I'm gonna stay nice and close to the iceberg, nice and cozy. Oh my God. Anyways, down below, the sub is experiencing turbulence because of all the ice falling and whatnot. And there's also a pod of whales that keep swimming by and like kind of knocking the sub around. And then the sub gets closer to this iceberg and they can see inside that there's this giant shark and giant octopus. Just like the title of the movie. Oh, sorry. Mega shark and mega octopus. Mega shark versus giant octopus. Oh my God. Guys, it has been a long fucking day. Yeah, it's giant octopus. I just had to double check. Good God. Mayhem! So anyways, Emma sees these things in the ice, but she doesn't like really quite understand what she's seeing, I guess. And the ice breaks apart. These two creatures break free and then just swim away. I know the science behind this. Like, they didn't use any. But, you know, this is what I like about the Asylum. They know they don't have the budget for anything great, so they just get right to the fucking point. They're like, hey, mega shark, giant octopus, here you go. And yeah, here's, like, some of our lead characters. Woo! Great. And then we go to a drilling platform in Japan, and we follow a few men talking about nonsense. It's like they wanted us to hear what they were saying, but didn't bother mixing the sound properly so we could. And when you listen, they're not saying anything important. So I'm just like, why do I care? Why do you think I should think that I care? I don't know. Again, nonsense. And so as they're talking, they see giant tentacles start wrapping around the oil rig. And then this one dude like looks into the eye of the giant octopus and I guess his mind is just blown or whatever. And then immediately we go to California. Emma and Vince from the fucking submarine arrive at a beach and talk about their scary experience. And she asks Vince if he saw anything else in the iceberg crash or whatever, but he didn't see shit. So she's not, like I said, she's not fully sure of what she saw, but she just knows she saw something. And then they walk up to some yellow tape. There's like a police tape there. And Emma goes to the beach and she goes and sees this giant washed up whale. So I guess she works for some sort of oceanography institute or something like that. And so there's this other lead scientist there, real dickbag. Don't even know his character's name, didn't look it up because he was just an asshole, didn't care. So she's looking at this carcass with this other scientist, and then they start trying to pull something out of it, which clearly we can tell is probably a tooth. They have no idea what it is, of course. And the douchey scientist dude just wants to brush this whole thing off as like, oh, it was just hit by a propeller from like a big ship or something. And Emma's like, no, something organic did this, you fucking dumbass. And then he also brings up the fact that when she was in the sub, she was going off course. So when she saw the mega shark and giant octopus, she wasn't where she was supposed to be. So he's giving her shit for not following protocol or not following the plan or whatever. He sends her home and tells the other scientists to leave because they have their answer. Wow. What an idiot. Emma and Vince leave the beach to get a drink. So, like, they literally go to the beach and are drinking out of whiskey bottles in paper bags. Fucking classic. Like, you'd think they were in Florida. And then Vince notices this look on Emma's face, like, oh, I don't like that look. That's how we ended up in the sub last time. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. So she goes back to the site of the whale, and she shows a cop or a security guard some ID and makes small talk and like, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes inside, and she pulls the tooth out, and she puts it in a bag, wraps it up, and then leaves. We go to some detention center in Japan, and someone comes into an interview room and starts asking questions from the dude who we saw on the rig that was attacked, the one that looked it in the eye. And he tells them there were no survivors, and he wants to call his family, but the man says he needs to cooperate, and these people don't like it when they don't get their way. So this scientist doesn't work for whatever company is holding this dude there. I don't know if it's the oil company or if it's government military. I feel like it's government military sort of thing. We're going to go with that. So this dude starts having flashbacks of what he saw and like looking into the creature's eyes. And he's handed a piece of paper to start drawing what he saw. Do people not know what animals look like? Can you not just say like there were a bunch of tentacles wrapped around this thing? What more do you need? It's either an octopus or a squid. Like at the end of the day, that's... Anyways, apparently this dude's never seen a fucking octopus before, so he's got to draw it out so a scientist can tell him what it is. Then we go to a scene I remember very well. This part I do remember for the most part. So we see a plane flying in the air. We go inside the plane and we see like the stewards and whatnot interacting with the passengers. And one dude's like, I'm getting married in 4 days. Boop, ba-doop, ba-doop. And then he sits down and they're all concerned because there's like a little bit of turbulence or whatever. And then he looks out the window and there's just the mega shark coming at the plane. Like it just leaped out of the ocean and is now like... I don't know, man. Commercial jets usually fly fairly high unless they're getting ready to land. And I don't think they were getting ready to land. So this thing's like, I don't know, man, like miles up in the sky somehow. It doesn't make sense. It's complete nonsense, but it's also amazing. So yeah, this shark like bites the plane in half and then they both just come crashing down into the ocean. It's all very shaky cam, CGI nonsense. It doesn't look that great. This part was more for nostalgia for me than what, because I've actually seen the Asylum do better, which I can't believe I said, but yeah. And it's not, I don't even think necessarily it's a product of the time per se. Like, I feel like even around this time, they were still doing stuff that was a little bit better, but again, not 100%. Emma is let go from her job for reasons we're not really told. I guess maybe the sub thing, but like if they were going to fire her for that, why bring her to the whale thing? But anyways, we just see her being escorted out of the building with a box of her stuff, and then like that douchey scientist dude gives her some advice like, don't love the ocean so much. Oh, good one, buddy. Haha. Mayhem. She meets with her old professor, Lamar Sanders, and she says she thinks she's being followed, and he says he won't let them harm her, and he's using like an on-again, off-again Irish accent, I think. I couldn't quite tell. Like, I don't know, maybe it was just like a very faint Irish accent. I don't know, it was very strange. So they go to a lab and they start running tests on the sample she took. And we know they're running tests because we see a montage of like nonsense computer screens and them like mixing chemicals into different flasks. Because that's how you test stuff, right? You get up on the computer and like, grids. Yeah. Oh, look at this grid. Yeah. Now, oh, that's a good grid too. Can't forget that grid. That could be the important fucking thing that puts this whole thing together. Yeah, anyway, it's all nonsense. And they come to the conclusion that they pulled out a tooth, which all of us already knew immediately from looking at this thing. And guess what? It belonged to a megalodon. That's why it's called a mega shark, because it's a megalodon. And then we get a science dump on like the Meg's background and like how big they were and blah, blah, blah. And they argue back and forth about whether it could be a Meg or not. And then Lamar gets a phone call from the Japanese scientist, Shimada, and they go to the airport to meet him. And then when they meet, they compliment each other on their exploits. Like, when you that time you took that sub to blah, blah, blah. Oh, then the time that you did blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. So Shimada says he's there on his own accord. So his government or like nobody knows that he's there. So he's there like not on an official capacity. They go back to Lamar's and Shimada shows them the drawings of the octopus the witness did. Doesn't look exactly like an octopus because it's mostly in the water, and I guess we see like a couple of tentacles or whatever, but we mostly see like the shape of its eye, and that's what kind of tips them off on what it might be. But I gotta say, the dude's not bad at drawing. I was like, shit, man, I don't know if I could do a drawing that bad if I saw, or a drawing that good if I saw an octopus attack my fucking oil rig. Look, I'm a little impressed. He's a good artist. Maybe he has a new career. He doesn't need to be a fucking oil rig worker getting attacked by giant octopi. He can be an artist, drawing pictures of people being attacked by giant octopi, because that's how he's going to deal with his trauma, probably. There's a ring at the door, and Lamar answers it, and he comes back with an envelope for Emma, which they're all suspicious about, because she's like, well, who knows I'm here, and blah, blah, blah. And she opens the envelope, and it's a burnt DVD. If I have to explain to anybody what a fucking burnt DVD is, you're way too young to be listening to this shit. That's when you like burn something onto a DVD. You don't like actually like light it on fire. I swear oh my god, if there's anybody listening who didn't know that, your parents need to do a better job on making sure you're not listening to some dumb shit. But that's not my responsibility, so fuck it. They put it on, and it's footage from the submarine that Emma was on, and we see the footage of the shark and the giant octopus in the ice. The three of them walk on a pier, and we learn Vince sent the footage to Emma. How? Unclear. They have like a short philosophical conversation, like, oh, maybe we deserve this. This is humanity's comeuppance. Really? Come on. It's you happen to unleash a giant creature. Like, that's... Like, this isn't Mother Nature's way of getting back. Mother Nature didn't, like, freeze these things like, oh, I'm going to keep this in my back pocket in case there's another species I want to piss off, and I can let these two loose. Like, come on. But then we go to a U.S. naval destroyer, and they're on the lookout for the beast, the shark, I assume. They spot the shark swimming towards the boat, and they go to red alert, and we just see this awful CG fin headed for a CG boat, probably in CG water. And the boat starts firing at the shark. The sonar or radar person says they can't see it. So the captain is like, yep, destroyed, all good, call the president. And then the dude on the sonar is like, no, there's like no signal, like at all. Like we should be getting something. There's nothing. He's like, yeah, call the president. And we just see the shark coming up to the destroyer. The captain is screaming, and we cut to black. So we don't even really get to see this ship destroyed or this captain fucking get his comeuppance. It's morning at Lamar's, and everyone is waking, and then some SWAT dudes come in, and they take them to Treasure Island, a U.S. Naval Command base, which was a naval base, but they stopped operating in 1997. I just wanted to know if Treasure Island Naval Base was like a real place, or if the movie was just like, yeah, what kind of other like aquatic references can we make? Ooh, Treasure Island. But no, this was a real place. It, like I said, it wasn't operating even at the time, but yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. So they're inside this room in this base, and Lamar says the lighting is the same as Guantanamo Bay. Okay, I want you right now in your head to picture what lighting and an interrogation room in Guantanamo fucking Bay looks like. Okay, just take a second to picture that before I describe to you what this room looks like and how it's lit. Okay, you got it? So let me guess, you have like a dingy, dirty wall, like gross room with like probably one fucking light bulb hanging, dangling around, probably a single chair. Maybe they have a table, maybe not, probably not, but maybe, I don't know. But that's probably something along the lines of what you're picturing, right? Oh, no, not this fucking movie. This is a white room that is being lit by purple and pink fucking lights. I'm sorry. I've never pictured Guantanamo Bay as having like sexy and horny interrogation room lighting. That's just not what I pictured. But you know what? Lamar is a fucking professor. I don't know if I mentioned that, but Lamar was Emma's former professor. They kind of like briefly mentioned that at one point. But yeah, so this dude's a professor, so I guess he would know. Just, god damn. Like, you are high on your own bullshit if you think that's accurate. God damn it. So, in the interrogation room, Lorenzo Lamas comes in. Yeah, he's in this movie too. Listen, I don't know a lot of his movies. I know, like, one of the biggest things he was in was Grease, and then it's just a lot of, like, other nonsense that you kind of expect from some of these actors that, well, really show up in Asylum movies, but some of them I definitely got to check out because they look awfully bad, but, like, my kind of bad that I would enjoy. So, yeah. Lamar then guesses that they brought them here because their plan of just blowing up the sharks isn't working. That's actually correct, Lamar. You're not right about the interrogation room, but you are right about their plan, so I guess you do know some things. Lorenzo also threatens Shimada, saying the Japanese government has like given him full control over whether he lives or dies. Bit fucking extreme in my opinion, but okay. Emma asks like what they want from them, and he says solutions. And then we cut to them going into a control room, and they show a map of where the creatures have attacked military targets and civilian targets. And then they show Baxter, Lorenzo Lamas, that's his name, is Baxter, the footage from the sub of the shark and the octopus. And he's like, giant octopus? That's crazy. You've just been talking about a prehistoric shark attacking everyone. But no, the giant octopus is what's throwing you off right now. Like, that's the part you don't believe. I have an easier time believing a giant octopus rather than a giant shark living in the oceans. I know a lot of people out there want to be like, oh yeah, the Meg's out there. We don't know what's in the oceans. I'm like, listen, the Meg's not. It's probably not out there. Giant octopus, I mean, we know there's giant squid. So giant octopi, not that fucking crazy, right? I'm more likely to believe that. But no, not fucking Baxter. Jesus. Emma says they can't just annihilate them because scientific discovery, blah, blah, blah. And the other two agree with her, and they get Baxter to agree that he'll do everything he can to make sure they capture the creatures as opposed to killing them. And they can use, like, these shallow bays either in San Francisco or Tokyo, Japan. I guess that's their best way to capture them. So, and Baxter just yells at them to come up with a plan pronto. Like, okay, calm the fuck down, dude. Well, you didn't come up with a plan. You brought them here to come up with a plan. They're starting a plan. Ugh, fuck you. So we do a montage of mixing chemicals and looking into microscopes. The fuck this has to do with capturing giant creatures in shallow bays is beyond me. But then again, I'm not a scientist. And I mean, I guess I just don't have a 10th grade chemistry set to randomly pour shit into, so I don't know. Maybe it's just not vibing with me. I miss the octopus. Emma and Shimada talk about their work and love of the ocean, and I was really expecting these two to jump their bones at this point, because they were just giving each other some looks and whatnot. But then they don't, because Shimada shares some sad story about fishermen dying, and it's making him sad. But wait, then they kiss. And then Emma says she's going to go take a walk. You know, a walk. And Shimada gets it now. He's like, oh, walk means fucking. And he follows shortly after, and they find a closet to fuck in. And then after all the fucking, they compliment on how good the other one smells, and then Shimada explains smell chemistry, and whatever. But this leads Emma to have a thought, and she's like, oh, pheromones. We can use pheromones to lure the creatures to where we want them. Wowee. Amazing what a little hanky-panky can do to clear the fucking head. After a bit, Emma and Shimada and Lamar tell Baxter about their plan using pheromones to lure the creatures in, and it'll work because they've been frozen for millions of years, so they're horny. It sounds dumb when it's said, but like, I don't disagree. That's actually pretty sound logic. So they create a vial of the green ooze from Ninja Turtles 2, and then Shimada is back off to Japan to fight the octopus, and him and Emma kiss first. And then after that, we see a fighter jet in the sky, and it's looking for the creatures, and Baxter tells the pilot to fly lower. The pilot is like, if we do that, we endanger the mission. And Baxter says, oh, you mean yourself? Just do it. Like, Baxter, how dare you use that name? The only Baxter that I know is friends with an aardvark named Arthur. And you, sir, are no bunny rabbit friends with an aardvark named Arthur. So fuck you for using Baxter. That's going to go over a lot of people's heads probably, but I don't care. So the plane flies lower, and they start getting clearer photos, I guess. I guess that's what they're doing. They're trying to get photos. Why do we need photos? We know what they look like. We know that. And Lamar yells at Baxter to get the pilot to climb, but it's too late. The tentacles come up and take the plane out, but I guess they managed to set the bait. But like now I'm confused because I thought the octopus was going to Japan, which is why Shimada was going to Japan. So why is this American fighter pilot fighting the octopus? I don't understand. I don't understand what's happening right now. Whatever, Asylum. You do whatever you want. Lamar says he wants to lure the shark himself because he doesn't want the Navy boys mucking it up, which is true. I mean, they've been fucking this whole thing up the whole time, so that's fair. Baxter is a dipshit, so he really needs to let someone else take control. But he says he can't put Lamar in the sub because Lamar was... I don't know if he was in the Navy or whatever, but throughout the movie, we kind of hear about him crashing a submarine or some shit. So that's why Baxter's like, no, you can't have the sub. You can't drive it because you ruined the last one. But then he looks over at Emma and he's like, now you managed to actually save your sub. So like, and she's like, I'll do it. As the camera like pushes in and epic music plays, like, oh, wow, wee. And the lighting on this base in the control room now is the same as the interrogation room. It's purple, red, like honestly just makes me want to fuck. It looks romantic as hell. And like not what this location should look like in any way, shape, or form. Especially from this era. Like it's I don't understand the lighting decisions in this movie at all. It's absolutely insane. Like even for this era, I don't know. I just don't get it. Emma is on a beach and stares off into the water as Shamar comes up to her, and it's like sunset, sunrise magic hour, which would be pretty cool if it was in like a better looking movie, like any other movie. And he tells her they're luring the shark in Tokyo, and they're luring the octopus in Tokyo, and their great white shark is on the way to them. So I was right about the octopus being lured to Japan. So like, again, why was the American fighter jet over the octopus? Like, it makes zero sense. But, okay, there was a couple times I was distracted, so maybe during that time, something happened. There was a line of dialogue that I just missed, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for that. Lamar then gives her a pep talk, and she says she never thought of herself as a soldier, and then Lamar is like, well, every scientist faces a challenge like this in their lifetime. Like, I'm sorry, what? How many other fucking scientists do you know are driving submarines to lure ancient, unfrozen creatures? Like, this happens often? Really? That seems like a major fucking problem. We should be looking into this. And then Emma compares herself to Oppenheimer and Einstein. And I'm like, girl, I'm going to stop you right there. Like, while you're doing something amazing, there's no doubt about that. But let's pretend real world, like, consequences and, like, okay, real world, this exists. She's luring this giant shark. You cannot put yourself in the same realm or conversation as Einstein or Oppenheimer because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. You can because what you're dealing with is completely different. You can compare yourselves to like Jacques Cousteau, like an explorer, like something like that, but not that. Like, god damn it. Lamar says how proud he is of her, and they stand basking in the sun. And then I started to realize why this shot looked as shitty as it did. It's because they're both wearing fucking tan outfits on a tan beach next to a pier that has like tan wood in this sunlight with the warm color. Like it all blends in together. So like you can't distinguish anything. So like they had the time of day right, they had the camera angles right, but their outfits fucking ruined it. So I'm going to blame the costume department on this one. This is your fucking fault. Emma commands the sub with Lamar on the radar or sonar or both. So, okay, right after I wrote that note about radar or sonar, I actually decided to look it up. And I'm like, does radar even work underwater? And so, in short, yes, but only like for a very, very short distance, which is why they use sonar. So, if I ever say radar underwater, I mean sonar, just for fucking future reference. Look at me, I looked up a fact. They reach their destination and go to release the secret of the ooze, but the sub arm gets stuck and the shark is on the way. Emma starts banging the sub around, trying to get loose and release the ooze. Baxter gets on the phone and calls a nearby naval ship and says, "Screw these environmentalist bastards, shoot the thing when it gets close." We've already established that your weapons aren't really working too well. Why would you think it's going to just suddenly work now? So the shark brushes by the sub, and the ship's captain orders the ship to fire as the sub drives along. All this going on, we see white flashes as transitions, and they do this a lot throughout the movie, but this scene, they do it cutting back and forth, and like the flashes are the shark being hit with like gunfire or whatever, and it's people's reaction shots. And so like I don't know where the sub is or where it's going or like what this whole situation even is, because it's just cut together so weird. And like I'm supposed to assume something important is happening or like fill these holes in myself. I don't know. Speaking of filling holes, nah, never mind. Baxter asks for the ship for a report, but they say there's too much debris. And after they see nothing on sonar, they say the target is destroyed. They do this so many times in this movie. They're like, well, we don't see anything, so it must be dead. Could we get like a visual confirmation? That's an actual thing. Get visual confirmation. My God. But then they get something on the sonar, and the shark destroys the naval ship. And then the sonar person at the base says the shark is headed for the Golden Gate Bridge, and it takes a chunk out of the bridge. And this apparently killed thousands of people. Just from the shot that they showed and time of day and all that, I have a hard time believing that the death toll would be in the thousands. Hundreds I would accept. Thousands, it didn't take out the whole bridge. It took out one section of it, and that was it. Like, did people just keep driving off the end? Like, oh, there were no signs. What were we supposed to do? I don't know. And then we get a reaction shot of everyone being sad. They're not sad because of, like, the Navy ship being exploded and all of them dying. They're sad about the bridge. When the bridge gets hit, that's when they get sad. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're sad because of the civilians. And I'm like, well, the shark and octopus have attacked civilians all over the world. We saw it on the map earlier. So why is this more sad? Oh my God, it's a landmark. It's so much more sad. Oh, like what is this, Independence Day? Jesus. Next, we see Shimada on a video call, and he asks if they had more success than they did. And Baxter asks Shimada what's happening, and basically all they've done is piss the octopus off, like, and now it's headed their way, apparently. And they talk about how the creatures aren't susceptible to conventional weapons, duh. So of course Baxter goes to the nuclear option and calls the Pentagon for authorization, and Shimada advises against it, like it'll kill all the marine life and all that just to kill these, like, two things. I mean, it's a nuke. It's all bad. Emma goes to the beach to try and come up with a better plan as she has flashbacks of everything that's happened up until this point. Got to fill that runtime out somehow. And she suddenly wakes. Oh yeah, because then she goes to the beach, but then all of a sudden she's sleeping. Again, I don't understand. But she suddenly wakes up. She busts into the room Lamar is in and says, "Gorilla Manila. We'll get them to kill each other." I don't know what that means. I'm not even going to look it up because I'm sorry. If I have to look it up, it's nonsense. Okay, you know what? No, we're going to do the segment. This is the new segment that everybody loves. It's called Steve Looks Shit Up. I'm going to look up what the fuck Gorilla Manila is supposed to mean. All right, well, I don't think I want a printing service in San Pedro, Costa Rica. Okay, I'm wondering if the subtitles were wrong, because now that I'm looking it up, it's like Muhammad Ali, the nickname Thrilla in Manila. Do they just, because they want these things to fight each other, is that what she was trying to say? Or did they change the line to Gorilla Manila? I don't know. It's so fucking weird. Anyways, they go and do a video call with Shimada, and Baxter is filled in on the idea, and Emma says they're natural enemies, and them being frozen in combat proves that, so there's no reason to believe that they won't royally fuck each other up. Baxter points out that they don't know where they are right now, so they argue about how to find them and whatever, and then Baxter is yelling. I don't think the sound people were ready for this part, because his lines like peak and like cut off like volume-wise. So, yeah, it just, like, blows the sound right out. And then we're in a Japanese sub with Shimada talking to the captain, and all of these Japanese people in this sub have pretty thick American accents for what I'm assuming is a submarine run by and from the country of Japan. But somehow they all just speak with, like, I got nothing. I got nothing for this. I'm not going to put it past them, and I'm gonna say, like, these probably aren't all Japanese people. You know, like, I wouldn't put it past the Asylum. They're like, oh, we'll just get a bunch of Asian people, and then yeah. So there's that. It is what it is. On the American sub, Baxter is looking sick, not used to the sea, I guess, for someone who's apparently working with the Navy. Or I guess we don't actually know what agency he works for, because he's just in a black suit most of the movie. So I guess it's just he's from the government. Which branch, which section, unclear. Emma tells the sub-captain she has a feeling where the shark is, and they go back and forth like, what? Because, like, yeah, what? Oh, no, I just have a feeling. I have no evidence to support this, but I just have a feeling. Oh, okay. Shimada and Emma do some philosophical nonsense, and then they say, like, how happy they all are that they crossed paths, and then he quotes some Julius Caesar. When's the fight happening? When are they fighting? Everyone is called to the bridge, and they hear a distress call from some oil rig, or I guess it was an oil tanker, it wasn't an oil rig, so they decide to head towards the distress call to try to get the shark to follow them. So they look at the smoking ship topside, and then the sub is rammed by the shark, so they get back inside the sub, and then when we cut to an exterior of the sub again, they're already, like, deep fucking ocean. Like, no consistency whatsoever here with the depth or the CGI. Again, we expect that. We know this. This isn't our first fucking rodeo. Just saying. They fire 2 torpedoes at the shark, but they miss. Why are they bothering still? I don't know. We established this shit doesn't work. It like, not even to, like, deter the thing, really. And then we see the U.S. naval fleet come in and start shooting the shark. So it is just a bunch of submarines coming in, firing at the shark. And then Baxter is mad, saying he's going to report the commander, even though, like, he just saved their lives. He's like, oh, well, that was really close. And I'm like, oh, okay, would you like him to just let you die next time? The big group of subs is suddenly taken out by the Octopus. It just whips its tentacles around, and, like, bam, they're all gone. And then, except, of course, the sub with our heroes on it. And Lamar tells the captain he knows where an ice shelf is around the area, so they start leading the Octopus there while the ship engines run at full speed, and, like, a couple of them are concerned about this because it's like, oh, it's going to blow the engines out, the thing is too narrow, blah, blah, blah. And then we go to the Japanese sub, and Shimada learns there's only one sub left, but they can't get a hold of them, so he speculates, why? Is it the radio? Did they die? And who cares? You can't fix it. Why are you speculating right now? It's going to do you no good. The US sub starts heading into like an underwater canyon or whatever to try and capture the shark in a tight spot, I guess. Or like, I guess it's trying to lead both of the creatures there. Again, unclear. The dude driving the sub loses it, and he pulls a gun on the captain saying he's going to kill them all with his recklessness. Yeah, but like pulling a gun out in a submarine while you're supposed to be driving is like, yeah, that's totally fine behavior. Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem. But anyways, they get control over this douche, and then they fire at the shark. The shark is about to bite the sub when the octopus grabs it, and they start fighting. Fucking finally. The octopus wraps all its tentacles around the shark, and the shark bites it, making it like fucking ink itself. They decide to go to periscope depth to like see the fight from there, I guess. I'm pretty sure they do this and nothing comes from it. It's shocking, I know. On the Japanese sub, Shimada gets them to head for the US sub. The sonar dude on the US sub says the creatures have disappeared. Oh, I wonder if they're just going to think they're dead now, because now, oh, they're not on sonar, they must be dead. And I think Emma implies this is where the shark and octopus were originally frozen, like at the beginning of the movie. And so she's like, oh yeah, I know exactly where. Like, why don't you just say like, oh, they're probably going to head back where we found them. Good God. Idiots. All of them. And then the sub is suddenly hit. The shark has the sub in its mouth and starts chomping down, but then it lets go. I guess it's like now chasing the sub. Again, it has the ability to like completely fuck this thing up, and then for some reason it doesn't, because it's like, oh, but the main characters are on here. Oopsie. So as it's chasing the sub, Baxter, Lamar, and Emma abandon ship, and they get into a mini sub, and the shark finally bites off a piece of the sub, because now our main characters are off of the main sub, it can fuck off and die. As they escape, they spot the Japanese sub, and everyone's like, oh, yay, they're here to save us. But then the octopus starts playing with it like it's a fucking toy. And then the shark comes back, and they start fighting again, or fucking, it's hard to tell. It's kind of just a CGI mess. The shark bites off one of the tentacles, and then another, and blood starts pouring into the water. The octopus wraps around the shark, suffocating it, I guess, and then they both start sinking. Shimada comes on screen. He survived. Now Emma and him can go back to railing each other in broom closets. They sit on a beach, and Shimada says he can stay as long as she wants him to stay. Oh my. But she says, well, I'm a mermaid, so I don't like to stay home and cook and clean. And then he's like, oh, well, our home is out there on the sea. Good for you two. Lamar then comes with a folder in hand, and they're on a beach, and then Lamar just shows up. Anyways, he shows up with a folder in hand, and Emma's like, oh no, that was a one-time event. And she asks what the folder is immediately. And he says, oh, it's another lifetime. Oh, because she says that was like a once-in-a-lifetime event. And he's like, oh, this is another, oh, wowee. She asks what the folder is, and she looks at it. There's a bunch of photos. I don't even think we see the photos. And he says, oh, it's some sort of organic life. And I guess they found it in the same area where the shark and octopus fought. So they're all excited now, and then they go rushing off like, let's go. We cut back to the shark and the octopus sinking, and then credits. I thought if we're cutting back to that, like we were going to see them like come back to life. But also like this fight seems like it happened like a while ago, so I'm not, again, poor editing decisions. Shocking, I know. But yeah, that's it. That was Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. So right off the bat, poster-wise, I mean, all it promised us was a giant shark and a giant octopus, and we did get that. I will say that was in the movie. Acting was mostly on par with the Asylum. Like I didn't egregiously find anybody too bad, surprisingly, come to think of it. Again, for an Asylum movie, don't expect fucking Hollywood level acting here, but I mean it wasn't terrible. I'll give them that. The sets were constantly reused. Like the bridge for the Navy ships was the same bridge for like the Japanese subs and all of that. And Oh, the lighting and cinematography. The cinematography and lighting is all over the place. Like the super horny lighting in the submarines and the naval ships, I didn't get it. I'd like to know the reasons behind those choices, though. Just talk, like, why? Like, did the director say, like, yeah, I want some sexy lighting in here? Like, did Jack Perez be like, yeah, I want to come into this interrogation room and feel like I want to fuck? Which, I don't know, that's a weird vibe for an interrogation room, and I don't necessarily know it's going to be conducive to what you want to do in there. But that's just my opinion. Oh, the one piece of trivia for this movie, this was the first Asylum film to have a theatrical release. I am dumbfounded by this because why? Like, also how, who? There's so many questions. Of all the movies, like, this is the one that got a theatrical release. Mind-blowing. I'm giving it 1.5 stars. It's dumb fun. But when your movie is called, like, something versus something, I want to see more of those things versusing each other. Yeah, do you hear me, Zack Snyder? Not that I'm bitter. But anyways, that's it for me this week. That was Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus from 2009, directed by Jack Perez. You guys know you can find me on all the social medias. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Slasher, all at Bucket of Chum Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you could hit that like and subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. If you're not, if you could go over there and hit that like subscribe button, just, boop, I'd really appreciate that too. Or, a 5-star review would also be really nice. Again, it's just something that helps get the show out there. If I become big enough, I will stop asking for 5-star reviews. But until I start getting more 5-star reviews, I'm just going to keep talking about... Actually, it doesn't even have to be 5. Just be honest. Just more reviews. More reviews and ratings are better. And I would greatly appreciate it. But that's all I have for fucking this week. Mega Mayhem. Let's get it on.